Welcome to the Truer Business Podcast with Cara Ferreira
and Lauren Van Mullum. This season, we're looking at how online entrepreneurs built businesses around what they wanted for their lives.
We're talking to people who broke out of the follow my formula mindset to find what worked for them so that you can find the way that works for you.
What do you really want?
Welcome to this special podcast that is really just my passion project because I am in the thick of trying to figure out business with babies. And it's a whole other challenge. But what I find interesting about this challenge is, as business owners, life is always, not always, but sometimes, kicking us in the teeth. And when life takes over, what do we do with our businesses? How do we continue? How do we not just throw up our hands and say, I give up, because I'm not going to do it? And the women I'm talking to in the series aren't doing it either, even with kids and spit up and babies. Oh my God. So today we're here with Rebecca Tracey from Uncage Your Business. She's one of my favorite humans and has become just a dear friend over this. And I've got 3 big questions that I want to explore with Becca and Cara today, because they're the experienced moms compared to me. I'm a newbie. I've only been doing this for 8 or 9 weeks. I've already lost count. All right, welcome, Becca.
Hi. Yes, I'm so excited for this. Nobody in my real life wants to talk about the baby as much as I do. So it's great talking to other people who have new babies and are obsessed.
Yes. Oh my gosh, obsessed is the right word, and I did not think I was ever going to be that person.
Do you have a dog?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel the same way about my baby as I feel about my dogs. I knew I would be that kind of person because I was I'm obsessed with my dog. So
the dog, we're being so careful about not making her feel left out, not making her feel like her position has shifted in any way. We're so careful about her feelings. And the conversation, I feel, is not that way. It's once you have a baby, the dog gets demoted. It's this lady in the
our
tramp
dog is
situation.
full demoted. Our dog is bottom of the barrel. We have no time for that. We have 2 dogs, actually. I forgot about the other one. That's how demoted she is. But I was my dogs will never be second place. And I'm the dogs? Can we get rid of them maybe?
I have to say, and I will confess this here, and eventually I'll confess it on my newsletter, the chickens are no longer in residence.
Oh.
Something had to go.
Poor chickens.
They got demoted.
That's fair. There's, who has time for chickens?
Yeah, no, it's 6 other mouths to feed, and I couldn't.
But Lauren, since this is the first episode in this sort of baby mini-series where you are in the after, you've now had your son and you've been trying, well, I guess you did take some time just with him, and now for a few weeks now you've been juggling business and baby. So can we start with what some of the things that you're surprised about? Now that you are sort of in the after?
Oh, absolutely. I entered into this with so much hubris, and the gods have punished me. First of all, I thought that okay, I'm 40 years old, right? 41 now. And I know who I am. Rock solid. My identity is just in stone. And everybody said, oh, being a mom changes you. Being a mom changes you. And part of me was terrified by that. And part of me was maybe if you're doing this in your 20s, maybe if you're doing this in your 30s, but I am old now and I know who I am. I know what I want. And this just takes you down to the studs. I don't know nothing anymore. And I'm just trying to rebuild my sense of self from the ground up. And that shook me. It's still shaking me. I think it's going to be shaking me for a while. I know that I am still passionate about my business, but even that was in question 2 weeks ago when I was too tired to even think about it. So yeah, I think that's the thing that shocked me the most.
What was your experience like, Becca?
Yeah, I'm also on the older side. I was going to say I'm also old, but I will not imply that we're old. We're old to be having babies. We just are. I'm 44. I had Charlie when I was 44. In terms of how it impacts, the balance with the business, I think what surprised me was that I didn't really think about it ahead of time. I was I'm going to have to I won't be working. And so I'm going to have to prepare some things with the team. My husband was also self-employed. And I was like, well, we'll like both be home during the days because we both work from home. So like it'll be way easier than it is for like other moms where their partners like at the house, whatever. But we just, for some reason, we didn't really talk about it. And so baby came and he took like 2 weeks off and then he's back to work in quotes, which is like, you know, working from the basement, but he still has way more calls. He's a different, much different like business model and day to day than I do. So he's like working and I'm full-time momming it. And for some reason I didn't expect to be like full-time momming it. I was like, there was a shock that I was like, oh, I'm like just a stay-at-home mom, which is not what I had thought or planned for some reason. I mean, he's still little, he's 8 months. So it's like, he'll be in daycare and then that'll all change. But I think I was just shocked at like, oh, I'm doing this thing that you hear so much about. And I was like, well, that'll never be me. I'm like, oh wait, this is what it is. Okay. Yeah. It's a lot of time. You know, Lauren, he's still what, 8 or 9 weeks? So he's still in the like little phase. But once they start like moving around and you have to entertain them all day. And now I have to feed him. I'm like, oh my God. Kara, how old is you have a baby?
Yeah, so I am the senior mom here. My daughter is almost 7.
Oh my God.
So I had her when I was 30. Was not planned. I likewise didn't, my business was established and I didn't actually make plans for childcare. Like I somehow just thought like at a certain point I would resume working and my baby would be around and like it would be totally fine. Like I think I did like have a vision of like, oh, well, let's have this like play area in my office and she's going to be totally self-occupied at 4 months old.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, luckily there was a local daycare that an email landed in my inbox and I was like, oh, daycare is an option. So I did get her into daycare at 6 months.
Oh, that's early. Nice.
Yeah. Did a few days at 6 months and then it's progressed to the full week. But yeah, but I think this conversation will be fun because the previous conversations, I am always careful when talking with expectant mothers because I likewise remember all of the advice and the like, this is going to change and like all these things. And I remember being like, yeah, whatever. Like, I don't think that's going to be me. And then like it happens and you're like, not that it has to be exactly how people said, but like everybody's experience, I think, is like, oh, like this is so much bigger of an explosion than like I thought it was going to be. Like it is not a controlled detonation.
Yeah, it's hard to know. I don't know. As someone who didn't want kids until I was 42, probably, like just didn't want, was like pretty much a hard no. I never really thought about it. Like I never really was like, what would it be like? Or, you know, I just didn't have any of those thoughts. And so I think like, I have a good, relatively easy baby. So I'm like very aware of that because I have friends who have babies that are more difficult. But I feel like I kind of went into it once we had decided and we went on this journey with like the lowest of expectations, which is what I also do in my business where I'm like, it's just going to not go well and my life's going to be over. And that did well for me because now I find myself saying like, this is easier than I thought it was going to be. Like, obviously it's hard and I'm tired and there's like all the shit, but I'm also like, I'm functioning. Like I'm still, I'm like, I'm doing okay. I'm out and about. I see friends. We've gone on some trips. Like this is okay. This is like not the end. I think I built up in my mind for my whole life. Kids are the end of the world. Kids are like, your world's going to be over.
We are so similar.
It's like, that's the end of your life. And then you're just going to have a kid. And it's like, oh, wait a second. Actually, you can, okay. For any expectant moms listening, for me personally, it's been easier than I thought it was going to be because I set myself up to think it was just going to be the worst absolute thing in the world.
Same.
Well, I'm interested for both of you for that dynamic, though. If you think it's going to be the absolute worst thing in the world, it's just there's this other opposing feeling of like, I actually really desperately want to have a child, even though I do think it's going to be the end of the world. Like,
trust me, I don't know. That was a whole mindfuck. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was on the fence until like, I don't know, 4 weeks after we had him.
Yeah, I don't know, because I did IVF, so I like put effort. I put a lot of effort and a lot of money into this. And at the beginning too, when we started, I was like, well, just, we'll try for 6 months. And if it doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. Then once you start, I'm like, we need to just do IVF. We're old. Let's do IVF and we'll just do one round and we'll see what happens. And then I went through a pregnancy that I lost about halfway through the pregnancy. And then I was like, I'm all fucking in. Like, give me that baby. So I feel like it's sort of like once I kind of decided I wanted it, it was hard to imagine it not happening, even though I still had no idea what it was going to feel like or look like. And I didn't feel excited about having a baby. I was saying to a friend the other day, I feel like when I was pregnant, there was never a moment where I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to like meet my baby. And who's he going to be? I was just like, is he okay? Is he going to die? Is he going to be okay? Like, it was so much fear that there was no time to think about like the exciting part afterwards of actually like knowing the baby. So I think that's why I went into it just being like, it's all doom and gloom. I know. I'm like, oh, it's okay.
Like, for some reason, people keep asking, are you excited? And I would just look at them and be like, no.
This is good. I was like, I try not to tell people this because people think I'm weird, but it's good to know it's not just me.
I mean, I think that's why these conversations are so important, because I also felt very alone in this. This is not the cultural conversation.
I think it correlates, you hear a lot about how there's so much information and shoulds and shouldn't and support for the pregnancy, and then postpartum is just like doing it alone. I kind of felt that way about being pregnant. I was so sick of talking about being pregnant that everyone asked, like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Are you excited? And then afterwards, when you're like, I actually kind of do want to talk about this like shit show that's become my life.
Everyone's like, here's some soup, bye.
Exactly. And there is no conversation anymore. So that's, I guess, what this is. This is that conversation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so true. And that's actually one of the overarching themes I wanted to talk about specifically today is the support aspect. And I'm curious, I want to start with like what support you wish you had looking back. Like what would have been so helpful?
I live in a small like mountain town in BC. No one's from here. Everyone's from Ontario. And so that's a province on the other side of the country for you Americans. And so there's no one, like, we're just sort of used to, if you have a baby here, you don't have support. Like that's generally how it goes, at least like not family support. And so when I was pregnant, I hired a doula thinking, okay, this is great because she'll do some like stuff during the pregnancy. I was having a scheduled C-section, so I didn't really need a lot of support with that, although she did come with me. And then I'll use most of the hours for like the after support. Turns out my water broke at 34 weeks. There was no time to do the doula stuff during the pregnancy. It was just like go time. And so I had all the hours for afterwards. And honestly, she kept being like, let me know what you need me for. And we didn't even bring her in until like months afterwards because I was like, I don't know what you're going to do. And she's like, well, I can like cook and I can clean. I can watch the baby while you shower. And I was like, we're kind of doing, like, he was really sleepy. He was a preemie. He was like small and sleepy. So he was sleeping lots. I remember telling Lauren, I was like, it's pretty easy. They just sleep. They just sleep for like 4 hours at a time. So we actually didn't need the support. So I was like, oh, I just spent like thousands of dollars for this and we're like not even using it. And so then months later, when my husband started traveling, I started calling her in mostly to like make me meals. I was like, can you like deliver me lunches? Because I don't have time for that. But it's interesting because I thought, and also my family was supposed to come. And then because Charlie came early, they weren't here until I think 8 weeks after he was born. And I was like, oh my God, thank God they weren't here for those first 2 months because first of all, I'm like walking around with my tits out all day long, milk spurting everywhere and like a disaster. So I'm like, I don't want my dad sitting on my couch. But I was also so glad that they didn't come because then once they did come, we were able to be like, great, you can do the dishes or you can do these things. But the first 2 months, like I was actually quite happy to not have had like people there trying to be helpful, mostly because we just had a sleepy baby and we didn't really need it. But it felt just like such a vulnerable time of being, and it wasn't like, oh, I just want to bond with our baby. I don't want outsiders. Like my friends came over every day and saw him and hung out with him. But like, I don't know, I just didn't feel, so I feel like the support that I wish I had was like, I wish I'd planned meals better ahead of time. I wish I'd had like a freezer full of things that I could just make because that was a big struggle. That was the biggest struggle actually. The food situation. I wish I'd had like just a set up meal delivery that was bringing me 3 meals a day. That would have been like the most helpful thing that I could have had at the beginning.
Oh, that is such a good, now I'm thinking I should have done that. I did stock our freezer, but I also had like a whole spreadsheet of like, here are the meals I would love to have somebody bring me if anybody wants to volunteer. And that was part of the registry that I sent out. And like people signed up and only one followed through.
What?
Oh, that's awful.
And thank goodness, like we still have one of his amazing lasagnas in there. Like he made bulk.
Oh my gosh. Do you guys do meal train? Do you have meal train there?
That was kind of the concept,
yeah.
But nothing of,
but nobody did it.
Nobody did it. So you sent me a DoorDash coupon. And
useful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Useful, yep.
It's so hard to feed yourself. Like I've never had that problem in my life. I am the first person to have any buffet line. Never had an issue feeding myself until now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually did have the freezer full of things, and we actually went out and like bought like a freezer chest that was in our garage that we had filled with other things. Like my stepmom made a bunch of frozen food, so that was all lovely. I don't know my husband went back to work. Like I came back from the hospital on Sunday, and he went to work on Monday, and he knows this, so I can say it publicly. But like I will never forgive him for like her 5-day checkup. She was born in February. It was like 5 degrees out, and I had to get her to the doctor's office and park.
Oh my God,
in New York City
5 days.
At 5 days. And I told him to take the day off, and he didn't do it. Instead, he sent me his sister, who at the time spoke no English. And so I arrived at her 5-day-old appointment just sobbing.
Oh my God. And they're so little at 5 days. Like it's terrifying.
Yeah,
I don't think we left the house for 2 weeks. Like they're so tiny.
I know, and it was freezing, and I was like, I don't know how to like keep her. I don't know. So it's awful. So like definitely, I don't know if we could do it all again. Maybe just have a different husband who would actually take that day off. So there is that. But otherwise, like I have the food. I don't know. I kind of had my little cocooning. My husband did have to leave the country for like 2 weeks when she was 4 weeks old. So I actually moved in with my parents for those 2 weeks. And that was actually kind of lovely because my stepmom just like brought me stew on the couch.
But yes.
Every 2 hours. So like that was like a lovely redeeming being cared for experience. But yeah, like I just don't know how much like you can plan for the things that you don't know you're going to experience or think that you're going to need later on.
Yeah. And you don't know. Yeah. I thought I'd want my family there immediately. So that's what they were booked for. And I was like, thank God he came early. Like I would not have wanted that. Whereas other people are like, I could never have done it without my mom living with us for 2 months, you know? So it's like very different. Depends on your baby. I think it depends on like how you're feeling, how like, you know, breastfeeding's going. Cause that's a whole, if you are breastfeeding, or if you're trying to breastfeed or whatever, that's, you know, it's a whole thing. And that's like so much of your day that like, for me, I was like, I don't want someone here while I'm such an effort.
I also don't know, like, that breastfeeding totally blindsided me. Like, I was all prepared for the birth, even though it didn't go to plan at all. But still, like, I was like, had my head wrapped around that. Like, breastfeeding, I was like, oh, like, I know I have to, like, get her to latch pretty quickly is ideal. But that's about it. But yeah, our breastfeeding journey was not great.
Yeah, you don't really realize there's more to it.
Yeah.
That's been so incredibly difficult. Like everything kind of went wrong that could have gone wrong with breastfeeding. And then it took us a few weeks to get back on track with getting the milk supply up because I had completely destroyed it because I was so congested after the emergency C-section and I was intubated, and that basically shuts down anything you have to expel mucus, and then coughing is impossible because that takes your abs.
Oh, yeah.
I was coughing my head off for days, like for the 2 days in the hospital. And nobody told me you cannot take Sudafed or it will dry up your milk in 2 days.
Nobody told you this?
Nobody told me that. I am still so mad about that. So I completely dried up my milk supply and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working and had to rebuild it. And oh my gosh, that is such a process and you can't sleep. Like you literally are not allowed.
No, you got to be pumping. Got to pump all night long, lady.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Are you breastfeeding now?
Yeah. And actually I'm dealing with oversupply. So you go from one extreme to the other and both hurt.
I tell you, you're 9 weeks. At 3 months, it totally changes. It just gets so much easier. It's like they are more coordinated and like the supply levels out. Like I was like you, I'd have a boob alarm set and I'd be like, okay, I have 2 hours and like 20 minutes to go out and do something before I start like leaking everywhere and I'm in so much pain and have to get home. So I'd like go out for dinner somewhere and I was like, boob alarm, I gotta go. And like, it was like clockwork. And that just like, it kind of just fixes itself. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, my boobs are normal. He's eating fine. Like it's not a whole ordeal. I remember the first time I fed him out of the house, I was like, oh, I can like, oh, this is how other people were doing this. Like they were past the 3-month mark. That makes sense. Yeah, it does get a lot easier.
So this is the kind of support it's another kind of support. Find yourself a mom friend who is a couple months ahead of you.
Oh my God, yes, I had that. Late night, because you know they're going to be online all hours of the night. So I'd be up at 2 a.m. sending messages and like they'd respond instantly. I was like, oh, same feeding schedule. Cool.
Yeah, you've been such an incredible support for me. We've just been talking on Boxer, and I think the last panic note I sent was while you were in Hawaii, and it's like, how does work get done?
I don't think I have all that. Yeah, we can talk about that. It doesn't? It doesn't get done.
Yeah, so I just the past couple of weeks, I've been nominally back to work, but I have pared things way down. I'm not doing full service copywriting right now. I probably won't until next year. I mean, like next year, because we're almost at the end of 2025. And if I have to be on a call, I'm limiting those a lot. And then I'm doing a lot of just reviewing reviewing people's copy, which works really well because I can do that in the scraps of time that I can put together between feeding and post-feeding crying.
Yes.
His crying, not my crying.
Sometimes you're crying.
I cry in the shower like a goddamn adult.
Yeah. If it can be done one-handed on my phone and via voice to text, then it can get done, usually. Less so now that he's crawling around, but more so in the earlier days. Or if it can be done during nap time now that he's napping longer most of the time. So if I'll have like a 2-hour chunk where I'm like, okay, if I have to review these emails, I can actually sit down and do them. Working after he goes to bed at night, not a thing. Like you're probably not even on like a regular bedtime yet, Lauren. You're probably still on the insane 3-hour schedule. But once I have a bedtime and he goes to bed, I was like, oh great, it's like he goes to bed at like 6 or 7 p.m. I'll have the whole night. You think I'm working? My brain functions? No. I like flop down and watch a few episodes of TV and then I go to bed at like 8:30.
I had somebody ask me how I was doing my news because I've still been doing my newsletters somewhat. I've still been doing social media somewhat. And one of my friends who's got a year-old, she's like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, okay, voice to text. Get AI to clean it up without changing the language because otherwise it'll AI all over it. And then I have to edit that and put it up. And then I have a VA that actually designs the social media stuff, so I don't need to go into Canva because that's way too much for me right now. But yeah, voice to text just saves everything.
Yeah, it saves it. And also repurposing content. I mean, we were doing this also before the baby, but like before I had Charlie. And especially over the last year with like the pregnancy loss and in between and doing IVF again, like it's been a year and a half of like me basically not being in the business creating things. And so we just repurpose everything. Like everything we put out is something we've put out before. But the people who are like newer to you don't know that. And so we're like, and I have a team, so I'm not doing it solo, which is a bit of a different thing. But my marketing assistant will go and she'll find old posts and she'll be like, here's a good one. You okay with that? I'm like, yep, go for it. And then she'll plop it into a newsletter and she'll send it out. And as far as people know, it's good as new, right? So it's like you can use old stuff. I feel like there's so much pressure to be like creating new content all the time. And especially now, like no one has time to write a new blog post every single week.
I want to talk about how the business does or does not change because your business, like super established, you've got a team. It's definitely on the larger side of businesses in our world. So I feel like I haven't seen anything shift from the perspective of how you're serving your clients, your students.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's so much different than if I was doing one-on-one work, like you doing like a done for you page, right? So my program is a course. It runs over a year. It's kind of like ongoing enrollment. So there's no cohort. It's not cohort based. So people are just kind of joining all year long. I coach in there once a month. And then I do like an office hours in our community group once a month. So 2 things a month for me that I need to like be there live doing the thing. And then we have other coaches that coach. Lauren is one of them who does our copywriting calls. We have a couple of program coaches in there. And then I have a mindset coach who's in there. And then I have a team on the back end, meaning like Christine, who's our sort of project manager, overseer of all the things, and then Ginger, who's our marketing assistant, and then Katie, who does, who's like really part-time doing kind of tech stuff. And so the business didn't really need to change. I think I missed one call. I took a Uncage Your Business coaching call from the hospital after my water broke before I had Charlie. I was like, I'm in the hospital for a week, so I'm going to do the call.
I remember that, and I was just like, oh my gosh, mad respect. You are my role model.
I mean, I was so boring in the hospital. I was like, I'm so excited to do this call because it's something to do. They like wouldn't let me leave. I was just sitting around. And then I think I missed one after. And Erin, who's our mindset coach, who also coaches with me on the calls, just did it on her own. She Voxered me if there were any students that she had questions about. And then I was back at it like the following month. I definitely did some calls with Charlie, like bouncing on my chest when he was just like little sleepy preemie baby. That would never happen now. So yeah, not a lot had to change. And I think it's just because we've been running the program for so long, and because of the way that it's structured, that doesn't require a lot of me like in it day to day. It was well set up for that. So it's like I baby-proofed my business long before I knew I wanted a baby. Mostly because I wanted that time to live my life, to travel, to go on hiking trips. Like I gave myself the freedom in my business for other reasons. And it just so happens that also works for having a baby. So I do feel grateful. And, for anyone listening to this, I've had my business for 15 years. So it's a much different story. I don't know how you would start a business and have a baby at the same time. I don't know. Because I didn't have to do it, so I can't imagine doing it. I think like outsourcing as much as you possibly can would be necessary.
Yeah. I know one person who, when she was pregnant, she was launching her first group program. Like she was just doing both at the same time. And I've never heard anybody else be able to do it. That's Caroline Leon. I'm sure she's been in the orbit. But yeah, I can't imagine because I'm having to pare back so much. And then it's like a few Loom reviews a day is as much as I can do right now. And yesterday I had 3 hours because Charles was on baby duty. And I was just like going through as many as I possibly could. And I hit a new personal record because I had to. So it is true, that thing that you hear, you get so much more focused and you get so much more productive in much less time.
Yeah.
If I had that superpower before having a baby, like I can't even imagine how much I could have gotten done.
I know.
Yeah, that would be a lot. I did even though my business is mostly one-to-one services as well, I did realize like I set it up, it's all the work's done asynchronously.
Yeah, that's the word I was trying to find.
Yeah. Like I'm never on with somebody else, and just because I don't like to work that way, I don't find it efficient. And so that was helpful that I was able to, I still had to do much less work when my daughter was small. But there was a period when she was probably like 0 to 3 months where she would nap, and she would nap longer on me. So as long as I set myself up with all of my snacks and like my laptop cushion, I could like type over her body. So like that worked out well. But I actually had a client recently who like required so many calls and like hand holding. And I just realized like this doesn't work for me because like everything I do works because I'm not, and like now I have a newborn, I just like am in the barn riding horses half the time. But like I can't do that obviously and be on a call with somebody like, and also on a monitor. So I do realize that my preference for working that way did benefit me when I had the newborn because my business was already set up to not have to be like face to face or on live calls all the time.
Yeah. I think it's super dependent on the business too, because I think like my brain goes to like all of our students, most of them in our Uncage Your Business program are coaches, like life coaches, healers. So it's like, it's not work that lends itself well to being asynchronous a lot of the time. And so I'm always like, okay, how can they, like, what could they be doing? And the answer is not create a course. The answer is not, right? Like you gotta be realistic about how you can actually help your people, but it might be like taking that time to, especially if you're new and you're starting to be like, working on some of the behind the scenes stuff, like, right, doing some of that, because it's just might not be realistic that you'll ever be able to book calls in that time. And your work might not work to be asynchronous like Lauren's does and like yours does. And mine is a little bit different, but
I'm totally blanking now, Lauren, but one of the people that you had on the Baby Series podcast, she mentioned, because she was a coach or is a coach, that when she had her newborn, she switched to Voxer coaching because that way she could get on Voxer and respond to her client requests. So like, they have a coaching question and she would respond to them, when the baby was sleeping or not crying. Or
I think she called them pumping sessions. Pumping sessions, yes.
Yeah. What kind of coach was she? Do you know? Do you remember?
Nervous system regulation?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm curious how that would work without already having like a relationship with those clients. I can see if like you've been coaching someone for a few months and then you're like, okay, we're going to like, we know what's up. We know where you're getting stuck in these things. You can box me about these things versus like having a new client where they're coming in and you're like getting the lay of the land with them.
She definitely was already established. I don't know if it was an offer that she only had for existing clients, but I mean, she already had a client base.
I think the key is get established before you have a baby.
Yeah, if you can.
Yes, ideally.
If you can.
So I'm curious about the idea of matrescence, which is a word that my doula throws around, but the becoming, like the identity shift that happens, the one that I was like so just hard rejecting before it landed on me like an elephant. And I'm curious about your experience with that. Like, what have you seen shift that maybe you didn't see coming, or maybe you did? Just curious about those little shifts and the big shifts.
I feel like the biggest shift for me was that shift that I talked a little bit about, was going from someone who didn't want kids, because that's such an identity thing, to not want kids, like to be against like the norm, and do like,
especially as a woman, yeah.
Especially as a woman, just be like, not everyone has to want kids, and not every, like, I'm like childless by choice, and like I was never like out there rah 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 about it, but I felt that, and I just didn't want, like, I'd scrunch my face and be like, when anyone asked about kids. And so the shift from like going from that to being like someone who did want it. So that kind of more happened when I was like going through IVF and I was pregnant. It was like really having to come to terms with, like, I still felt like I had to tell people that I didn't want kids before. Like, that still felt like an important piece, you know? It was like everyone going through IVF was like, yeah, but I never really wanted kids, but here, so it's different. Like, it just, for some reason to me, that was like a really big shift. Like, once Charlie came, I don't know, it hasn't felt like a major identity shift, because I think I'm really gung-ho to like build him into my lifestyle. So like when he was 4 months old, I strapped him to my chest and I like hiked him to the summit of a mountain. That took several hours, many hours. We did a couple backcountry camping trips where, you know, he didn't sleep and he screamed all night, but like we did it. We have a camper van, so we've been on road trips with him. And so I feel like I've been like, okay, my lifestyle will not change. And obviously everyone's like, it depends on your baby and you just never know. And my husband Henry is the same. He's done a lot of traveling with his other friends who traveled the world with their 2 babies. And he's like, you just kind of know what's going to suck and you just have to commit to doing it. And so I think I went into this with that attitude where I was like, if our baby lets us do this, you know, because you never know, then we're going to try to keep our lifestyle, which is kind of part of my identity, as much as I can. And so far I sort of feel like we're doing that. And it's obviously different. It's very different. Like we were just asking about my trip to Hawaii recently, which I reported was quite boring because it's, you know, working between nap times and stuff. But yeah, I feel like it was more the shift going from I'm not someone who wants kids to, oh yeah, I wanted this and I paid $60,000 to get it. You know, that was the biggest mind fuck for me, to need to like wrap my head around. And now that he's here, I'm like, oh yeah, so like, it's great.
Yeah. Okay, what about you, Kara? What was the shift?
I don't know. I almost feel like I didn't fully like adopt like the archetype. I mean, I still have like other archetypes in there besides mother, but I don't think I actually fully stepped into the archetype of mother until like maybe the past year or two. Like,
okay, that's good to hear.
It's so good to hear.
Yeah. I think part of that comes from like when they're so little, like you are mothering, but so much of it is just like taking care of like their immediate needs to like eat and keep them from falling downstairs. I mean, you're not even fully at that point yet, right? Because your kids aren't walking. But then you get to the point where you're like, okay, like what, like now that my daughter's, you know, at like 5, 6, now 7, now like she has play dates and her friends are over, like you start thinking about like what kind of like how do you want her to experience me as the mom, or like what kind of figure I want to be in her friends' lives, like. Because for me too, like I still love to work. I still love to do my hobbies. And sometimes I'm like, oh, but like I also don't want to be like, I don't want her to feel like I'm the mom who is always rushing off to do other things. Like I want her to feel like, yeah, my mom like made me my favorite meal when I wanted it. So it's kind of balancing all of those things, and kind of, and also you start to see more like she'll come to me for like emotional support with things now. Like, oh, like my friend said this, and sort of like helping her walk through those things. So I feel like, I don't know, it grows more that way. I almost felt like I was still fighting like the mother role for the first bit. Also because I mean I was 30, maybe 31 when I had her. But by the time she was 2, everyone was like, when are you having your second one? And I was like, and like I remember one time in particular, because we have the house in Connecticut and then an apartment in New York City, and I was leaving Connecticut to go to New York City. My husband was already there, and she was thankfully having a nap while I was packing up the car. But I was packing up the car and it started pouring rain. And so I went to go back the car up to like our kitchen side door has an overhang over it, so I could pack the car from there. I got out of the car, had it still in reverse, And so the car is still backing up. And Lauren's been to my house. Like I live, it's not like it's a small town, it's like a big busy road, but like there's a main road my house is off, so it's like backing up into the road.
Oh my God.
And I'm like trying to get back into the car to like get my foot on the brake. And meanwhile, like got totally pulled over. The front tire ran over my foot. And thankfully the car stopped on a tree. Like,
oh my God.
But the front door, like everything was mangled. I called my dad. Thankfully, he lives like 30 minutes away. But I'm like things you don't think you're going to get, like phone calls you're going to get. I'm like 30. I'm like, Dad, I just ran over my foot. Like the car door won't shut.
How old was your baby at this time? Like, were you in the full brain fog? Like,
not even. I mean, she was still napping. So I think she was like, she was over a year.
Oh, okay.
She was like 14 or 16 months or something. So then my dad drives my car, which door won't shut, to the auto body shop, and I took his car behind him with my daughter in the back seat. And we get there, and the woman it's like a, husband-wife team. The wife runs the office, and the husband runs the actual auto shop. But she was like, "Oh, like your daughter is so cute. Like, when are you having your second one?" I was like, "I literally just ran myself over because I was so stressed trying to pack up the car." Like, yeah. So I'm like, no. So that was something I was still. Like, I never fully wanted kids. We had the unplanned pregnancy for some reason. It just felt like mine. So I was like, okay, we're keeping the baby. But then, just fighting, like, I'm not having a second one. Like, this was enough. So, yeah, it was, I don't think I fully adopted mom as an archetype until, like, last year. So you guys have time.
That's true. Because right now you're literally just keeping them alive. And, like, it doesn't feel like the harder parts of parenting, which is, like, making them into good people and talking to them about challenging things.
Right. Which, like, that part, I guess maybe it is the harder part, but I don't know, that part feels like the more enjoyable part to me. Like, the keeping them alive part, when they were little, like, that part, I remember being like, I've never done anything harder than, like, just keeping this human alive.
Oh my God.
Yes.
We spent the day in the ER yesterday with little Charlie. It was my first big, like, mom guilt moment where he grabbed a thing of hot tea that I specifically put in a takeout cup with a lid on it and put it out of the way because she gave it to me in this big open mug, and I was like, I can't bring this. And somehow I turned for 1 second to grab a bag, and he was in it and like totally scalded his whole hand and spent the day. And I was like, oh my God, I was the worst mom.
Oh no.
Like screaming and screaming and screaming in so much pain. Yeah. And I was like, oh, so many ways for them to die. Every day when I'm looking around the house, I'm like, oh, he could grab that. Okay, we got to move that thing. Like,
just wait till they're like really running around. Camila ran into our kitchen island, like just ran into it.
Straight. She's like, let's see what happens.
It was on Easter Day. And again, it was like, of course, just when my husband left to go back to the city and I was staying out in Connecticut for the week. That's when she chose to run straight into the kitchen island and needed stitches in her eyebrow. And I was just like...
I mean, that's sort of on her. It's not on you.
But now it's funny, whenever she runs into something, which she probably does more than she should. I'm like, do you have any body awareness? Whenever she runs into something, she's like, do I need stitches? And I was like, no. It's because like you ran full force into like a corner of something.
Oh my God, poor girl.
So I think it's really interesting. Like, okay, so I just wanted to sort of preface this with, I know that I think we're outliers. I do. And a lot of women listening to this, a lot of parents listening to this, a lot of non-parents listening to this will be like, that is not my experience. I love being a parent. I love being a mom. Like, give me that mother archetype. I'm living it. And I love that for you. I am envious of you and just enjoy the hell out of that. But this other side of the conversation doesn't tend to happen. So thank you for giving us space for that. On that theme and what we've been talking about, we're 3 women who have created our businesses around the lifestyles we want to live. That's kind of amazing. And also, Becca, what you said about our, like, the identity being wrapped up in the lifestyle that we love living, that's so true. For Kara, she's got her horses, her barn that she manages. For me, so much of, like, my office is like the external manifestation of my identity. There's so much travel and art and hats. I had a very long stint of being obsessed with millinery, so like making hats, books everywhere, and I am dreaming of getting back to doing those things. I think it's really interesting the way that both of you are figuring out the balance between the passions of your life and then this new passion of your life. Because, oh my gosh, I love this baby so much. As much as I struggle with the identity of mother, I struggle with the word of it. Like, that is what I am to the very, fiber of my being when I am looking at my baby. He is beautiful beyond anything I could have imagined. And I realize I'm heavily biased, but like, to me, he is just the most amazing thing. And yeah, I do want to take him traveling. I do want to do my art and then come back and be a better mom for it. So it's figuring out, like, how do I incorporate the things that I need to fill myself up and create, continue the parts of my identity that I need to be there, and then managing what he needs and what I need to do for him. So yeah, both of you are figuring this out also way ahead of me. I'm just curious about that aspect. How are we doing this part of it, of keeping our passions and our babies alive?
I think also I was just thinking about this because I have a friend who has a baby who's a few months older and put him in daycare when he was 10 months. And I was like, oh, Charlie could be in daycare in a month? And my husband and I were like, okay, that feels too soon for all these reasons, but like, well, wait. But even like if he goes in at a year and a half, which is 6 to 8 months from now, I'm like, oh my God, I can have like my whole days back in like 6 months. Like, that is such a, like, that's actually, it's because, this stage now feels like, oh my God, this is just my life. But I'm like, no, I'm not a stay-at-home mom forever. Like, he's going to be in daycare and then he's going to be in school. So it is a relief to know, like, oh, this is so temporary. This phase in the first 9 months has flown by and every stage was so temporary. The terrible breastfeeding and then the terrible gas pains all night. And like all these stages are just so temporary that I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to go by and he's going to be gone from like 9 to 5. And sure, that's not enough time to do all my passions, but it's enough time to like feel like I have my time back and, can get back to myself, which feels like, again, that's where I'm like, oh, that's not so bad actually. It feels like pretty easy.
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, like around 3.5-ish was when like, yeah, because I had her in daycare, and by the time she was in 3, she was in like regular, like full 9 to 5. Although because she was there until 5, actually, we usually drop her off later. But around 3 was when like at home, I was like, oh, like I can actually like cook a meal without having to be like, where are you? Like, what are you doing right now? Occasionally there'd be times where like she was super quiet and you would find her like playing in the toilet water. But, you weren't so worried about them doing something that was going to, result in immediate death. So yeah, so I think until 3, it's like finding those pockets of time, whether that is hiring childcare, putting them in daycare, or just like, when there's a window of time where Charles has your son, instead you're like, I'm not going to do work. Actually, I'm going to go crochet something.
Make a hat.
Make a hat. Yeah. And then I think there is that time where it does shift and they are a bit more independent and you are able to actually devote more of your time. Like you just sort of start taking periods of time back for yourself while they're more self-sustained on their own.
Okay, that was my final question. But is there anything that either of you would like to add? Because I think this is going to be the end of this limited series. Any words of wisdom for all of the aspiring moms, the new moms, me?
It gets easier, Lauren. It gets so much easier. At the 3-month mark was 3 to 4 months was like a real turnaround for us because he just started sleeping. Like we stopped feeding him at night at 12 weeks. And so then he would sleep through the night. No more like getting up every 3 hours. The breastfeeding gets easier and it just like didn't take an hour and a half every time I tried to feed him. And you're not in this crazy cycle. So it does get easier and he sleeps longer and you'll find more time. And my baby's still so young too. It's like, at 7 years old, there's, you've been through so many stages of kind of being able to find more time.
That's why I think you do get more time as they're older. But I think the basic advice, though, is just like, it does get easier. And like, don't force anything. Like every time I was like, this is the stage she's at. She's supposed to be napping like during this window. And like, so this is something. Or like, she has to be potty trained right now. Every time it was like the shoulds. Like, it all happens when it's supposed to happen. Don't force anything.
I love that.
Where's everyone's babies right now?
That's a really good question.
Like, how are we all here?
Yeah. Well, mine's in first grade, so.
Right, okay, so yours is in school. Mine is napping just in that room right next door, which used to be my beautiful office, and I got demoted to this guest room. And I think Henry's downstairs with a monitor. He's also on a work call, so it was a bit of a fight of like, okay, whose call is going to fit? Okay, who's going to get the monitor? Okay, if he wakes up, currently sleeping, so we're good.
My husband and I have definitely been doing that dance of who's got the call, who's got the more important call. Is the baby sleeping? Can you do the call with the baby sleeping on you?
Yeah.
It's been interesting. And right now the baby is with my husband because his call starts at 10.
Same with Same with mine. We got 8 minutes.
All right. Well, on that note, that is the best final question. Thank you both so much